to Blue Jays Today, where we've got MLB free agency coverage coming to you live from the Blue Jays Today, boys, and specifically your Toronto Blue Jays coverage, because there's a lot of stuff coming out here, a lot of tweets, a lot of analysts, a lot of quotes coming out from the winter meetings happening down in Orlando. We're going to break down every single tweet that we've seen that we think is viable and important, present it to you guys, have a conversation, read the chat, answer questions, have a great night tonight. Just have some fun and enjoy this time of year, because it is one of my favorite times of year. It's little early Christmas gifts for us Blue Jay fans. So before we get into it, though, hit that like button, smash the subscribe button. I'm your host, Adam Peddle.
And I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog. And whilst we might not be broadcasting right from the winter meetings, we are broadcasting from the Sports Interaction Studio.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, you see me cover the bases on that one.
That's right.
There was a lot of stuff that's come out here today, everybody. It is the first official day of winter meetings, so clearly you're just going to have a plethora of rumors and rumblings coming. Every one of the agents are meeting with every one of the teams, and every one of the teams are talking to the reporters, and the reporters are taking stuff. So there is so many things that are going on right now, and it's not just like one thing, like one I guess meal is cooking. There is a whole kitchen of stuff going on. So Toronto, they are looking at Tucker. They are looking at relief pitching. They are looking into a Ketel Marte trade. They are talking about Jose Berrios and discussing how he feels about this team. Like, there's so many things on the burner right now, man.
Yeah, there is. I mean, literally, while you were speaking, I just saw a tweet come up from Keegan Masson, and I'm like, all right, I'm adding that to the list of things we got to talk about. So we're going to be just kind of flowing through. There might be some spontaneous conversations coming up, but that's just what happens here on Blue Jays Today. Welcome into the 300 people in here. If you haven't noticed already, like I said, hit that like button, smash the subscribe button. So just hello, everybody. It's great to see everyone back. Obviously, we covered the entire postseason, and it was great to see y'all there. Feels like slowly we're getting a lot of y'all back for some pretty exciting stuff.
This is, I guess, not selfishly, actually, just it is one of my favorite times as a content creator.
Yeah.
It feels so fun because, like, anything could happen, and this really is the first time where the sky could be the limit, you know? Like, in seasons prior, off seasons prior, yes, we were in on all these conversations, and, of course, we were reporting that to you, but it felt far-fetched that Toronto was really going to cross the finish line with a lot of them. The only one that I really got my hopes up for was Ohtani, and that is because of how it was reported on and everything like that. But this time, it genuinely does feel different, and I hope that this isn't going to be clipped later, and I'm going to make me look like an idiot because we don't end up getting Tucker, we don't end up getting Bo. I don't think that's going to happen though. This is a different team. This is a different management, or it's the same management, but they're approaching things differently, and it does feel like free agents are looking at the Toronto Blue Jays a lot differently as well.
I agree. I want to add on to that before we get into all of our conversations, but before I add on to that, we got to hear a $27.99 dono from Ari Pie. Let's go. W's in the chat, everybody, for Ari Pie saying, let's go. Been so long since I've been in the chat, but so happy to be back with you. Ketel Marte, watch for that. We're definitely going to talk about that later. I could see Schwarber signing tonight. Potentially, we're going to talk about that as well. Edwin Diaz and Robert Suarez too. Let's go winter meetings, baby. W's chat for Ari Pie. So awesome to see. But yeah, to like circle back to kind of finish off what you were saying there, it's like, yeah, like this year does feel different. And I want to start with like just Kyle Tucker, because he is on the face of the thumbnail. He is the number one guy, but he won't be the main conversation. I just want to kind of throw another 2 cents in there. It just feels like things are kind of evolving in the right way for the Blue Jays, because you're looking at all the big teams that would be in on Kyle Tucker, like the Yankees. If they're like holding a really strict budget right now, this free agency, and it feels like he's not even going to be they're not even going to throw like an offer to him that's like in the ballpark that he wants. He's not even going to visit their facilities at all. That came out. The Dodgers, every reporter is saying like they're not even like looking right now. They got other fish to fry. They got, pitchers they want to look at, blah 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 blah. And then you're looking at who else is left. Okay, well, you got like potentially the Red Sox, Blue Jays, Phillies. Phillies are looking at Kyle Schwarber right now. Boston's looking at potentially an Alex Bregman or some sort of infielder like Bo Bichette. Whereas like the Blue Jays, it's like a clear need. We need an outfielder because you've got guys like George Springer and Dalton Varsho leaving. So, and with the World Series, all that kind of throwing in there and all the money that we've got, it just feels like things are evolving, like I said, in the right way for the Blue Jays.
It's a good first sign. I'll say that much. Now, I do think that things will probably change as the winter meetings goes on, because you have to imagine that Kyle Tucker is going to be having some big and important conversations with some of those other squads. Right now, how it's being reported, it does feel like the Toronto Blue Jays are the overwhelming favorites to sign Kyle Tucker, and that's just simply because we haven't really been hearing a whole lot about the other teams. You were bringing up the usual suspects in the Dodgers, Mets, and Yankees, and whilst their names have been thrown around in the Kyle Tucker sweepstakes, they certainly haven't been talked about nearly as much as the Toronto Blue Jays have. And even the Phillies, who seemingly make a ton of sense, potentially even more sense than Toronto, I haven't heard a whole lot from them either in this Kyle Tucker sweepstakes. They're going to be in it, but we don't really know to what extent. Now, things could certainly change, and in the next 48 hours, could I imagine a big report coming out where Phillies pushing hard for Kyle Tucker? 100% I could.
And I could see that happening if they realize that Kyle Schwarber is probably going elsewhere, because there is a lot of people looking at Kyle Schwarber right now.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Let's talk about that, because everything affects everything here. It feels like a giant domino. Like, I don't even know how you set it up visually, but one domino could affect a bunch of other domino streamlines, right? Where Kyle Schwarber, this came out by Mr. John Heyman. He's doing a live stream. I thought that was so cool that he's live streaming right from Orlando at the winter meetings in the lobby. Like, that is so cool. One day, manifesting it. Hopefully we could do that. But he was talking about how there are so many teams in on Kyle Schwarber. Obviously the Phillies. And he starts us off by saying the Phillies should feel very confident that they could get Kyle Schwarber back. And I guess it makes sense. He's been there for a while. Phillies love him. He loves the Phillies.
56 home runs, man.
Yeah,
that's a lot of fucking. Like, clearly, my stuff plays well here.
Yeah, and you learn the team chemistry. You know the guys. You want to stay there for a while with Bryce Harper and the boys. Makes sense. The only other guys that are kind of competing for him are the Reds, which is his hometown team. And I actually really like the Reds coming in here and fighting. But if I'm going to give like a weak comparison, they would be like the Blue Jays were to, I guess, Ohtani and then the Dodgers. It's like, okay, clearly the favorites right now are the Phillies. Whereas like there could be this exciting other thing, and they've got a lot of reasons why he could go there, but he probably won't. But there's the Reds right there. Then you've got the Pirates, who we've heard, offered a 4-year deal over $100 million. They're right in the mix. Then, of course, the Mets are looking for an outfielder, blah, 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 blah. So you got guys in the mix, but it looks like the Phillies could be the number one team to get him. And if the Phillies get him, that changes a lot.
Yeah, I kind of hope that Phillies end up pulling this one off, because then you'd hope that takes them out of the mix for some of those other guys. We're not even talking about Cody Bellinger as a possibility, but it certainly could be for Toronto. Should they end up missing out on Kyle Tucker, I don't really want to have the Phillies in that conversation. Could they also be in on Bo Bichette? It's less likely, but it's always it's never impossible, right? Having good teams that have a lot of money decide to go elsewhere with their money for a position group, always good news for Toronto. And honestly, Kyle Schwarber feels like one of the few guys that we haven't been rumored to be in on, and I think that's just because of we want to turn back the clock just a little bit. Kyle Schwarber is obviously phenomenal, but they're looking for a pillar to take over for George Springer, for maybe Dalton Varsho, should he end up walking after next year. They're looking for somebody that's going to be there for time. Schwarber would be awesome to go in and win the World Series right now, but he's not really a long-term pillar, because the guy is, I think, 33 years old, which is almost the same age as George Springer. So, it's kind of like you're rerunning the clock a little bit, but not as much as they'd like to. So if Philly wants to go and they do want to end up getting Kyle Schwarber, I would love it, because you have to imagine that would then take them out of the running for Kyle Tucker.
Yeah, exactly. And one less team in the running would be great. Now, it'd be interesting to see. It's interesting to see what those other teams that lose out on Schwarber, if they do want to dabble in Tucker. It just feels like Tucker is the high price commodity, whereas like Schwarber's, if I'm a borderline wildcard team, or if I want to make my team a little bit better like the Pirates, Schwarber feels like it's going to be an investment, but it's a shorter investment and not much risk and reward, high risk. I mean, it's like he sucks. Okay, the contract sucks, and he's off in a couple years. Whereas like Kyle Tucker, if he sucks, well, now your franchise is tanking right now.
100%.
Whereas the Blue Jays, you got Vladdy already built in. You go spend another $400 million on Kyle Tucker. It's like, okay, like he doesn't have to be the core. He just adds to the core.
Now, the one thing I will say about the Kyle Tucker thing, and I was thinking about this a little bit today, his market isn't necessarily developing how some people expected it to. A couple months ago, or even a couple weeks ago, actually, it felt like a foregone conclusion that he was going to make $400 million minimum,
right.
and it could even reach 500, depending on where the bidding war goes. Now there's a little bit of a conversation happening where, well, maybe that money isn't actually as high as we thought it was, because there's a little bit of concerns with injuries, and just the overall amount of interest from various teams isn't as strong as people initially expected. The Dodgers aren't as motivated. The Mets aren't as motivated as they have been in years prior. Now, this actually worries me a little bit for Toronto, because I think that our chances are a lot better when we're talking about the long-term deal. What I could see happening, and I hope this isn't true, but what I could see happening is if he doesn't like necessarily the total guaranteed amount of, if he's not getting the $450 million that he thought, I could see a reality where, well, maybe Kyle Tucker decides, and you actually brought this up today, a kind of Alex Bregman or Pete Alonso-like deal where, you know what, I'm going to take my $40 million right now this year. I'm going to have an opt-out after it. I'm going to have an opt-out after that year as well, because he's still young. He could if he was to do that, he could still hit free agency at age 30 and still get paid a stupid amount of money if he puts up another good year.
Yeah, and I'm obviously I'd be totally cool with that, because if you did sign Kyle Tucker to, let's say, a Bregman or a Cody Bellinger with the Cubs type of deal where it's like a 1-2 year, 3-year options all filled out through that, like high AAV, then you could easily go and pivot and say, all right, Bo, come on back.
Well, I tell you what, I love that for the Jays. I love that for the Jays. It worries me because that could then open the door for some of those other teams as well.
To want to come in. Yeah, it's interesting, because if I'm Kyle Tucker, I got to assess, again, this is another advantage that the Blue Jays have. What team should I go to give me the best chance to make a shitload of money the following year? If I go join the Jays and my profile is very much similar to what they have in their lineup, which is high contact, put the ball in play, a little bit of slug as well, and that's exactly my type of profile. And I steal a lot of bases right now. I could be hitting right in front of Vladimir Guerrero Jr., stealing bases, scoring a lot of runs. I think that could be my best chance, and I could go to the World Series. My best chance kind of showcase what I got, have a full healthy season, and then if I come in, maybe, if I agree to this shorter-term deal, knowing the Blue Jays, they could go bring Bo Bichette back. Hell yeah, that team's going to be rocking next year.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I hope that he looks at it that way. Obviously, we look at it that way, and I think he should look at it that way as well. But there's clearly a lot of Toronto Blue Jays bias, from our standpoint. He might not necessarily feel that way. I hope that that's not true. But I just did have that thought earlier today where it's like, I like our chances a lot when we're talking about the $400 to $450 million deal, because I think that outprices a lot of teams, and a lot of teams aren't necessarily motivated to do that. But could the Mets or could the Dodgers, for instance, re-involve themselves in these conversations if, in fact, it turned into one of those shorter-term deals? I think they could.
That's absolutely true. And we'll see how it all plays out now. If you're just tuning in and you're just trying to figure out where the market is right now for him, it's going to be a little bit of time. I don't anticipate he's going to sign necessarily this winter meetings. I think things will start to develop. We might hear a few things popping up, just like this right here, that we heard that from John Morosi, the Blue Jays are going to prioritize Kyle Tucker. And it felt that way. It felt like they were prioritizing him without saying that. Now people are saying it right now. It is official. Blue Jays' #1 target is Kyle Tucker. Then after that, it would be the Bichette and Bellingers of the world in that B tier.
Yep, yeah, and that's the way that they should do it, man. I know the conversation about team chemistry and camaraderie is real, but it feels like Toronto is not necessarily throwing that out the window. But listen, if we can bring in good players, we're gonna bring in good players.
Right.
And I know that we were having the we were kind of talking about this the other day with the Ketel Marte trade, and I was bringing up the idea of if they had to trade Addison Barger, they had to trade Ernie Clement. I would be okay with it because Ketel Marte is a really good player. And I think, honestly, they would also be okay with it as well. And the reason that I say that is because right now you have a clear example of the team chemistry guy in Bo Bichette who is still a very good baseball player, and they are obviously prioritizing just the more complete baseball player in Kyle Tucker. And they're also doing something similar or looking at that kind of similarly with some of the other guys on this team who are on potentially less team-friendly deals now than they used to be.
Yeah, like Ben Nicholson Smith came out and talked about it today in an article, basically saying, like, the view of this team, the Toronto Blue Jays having up this roster, is what can you do for me in 2026? That's what we want to focus on right now. Not what have you done for me in the past or what have you brought to this team in 2021, 2022. What can you do for me next year? And if you aren't going to provide a lot, and there's guys knocking on the door wanting to come into this team, whether it be free agency or via the trade or in the minor league system, and you're not providing a whole lot, yeah, you're getting a lot of money. I don't care. We have so much financial flexibility. We might as well just cut you out, outright cut you, or trade you away and eat that contract. Before we continue, I know I see a dono in here from
shout out to Abba Edgar. $10 dono. All the Blue Jays need to do this offseason is to get the big fish. Please get Kyle Tucker, Bo, Robert Suarez, or Edwin Diaz. If Bo left and headed to Boston, can we get Ketel Marte to replace Bo? I think all of that is on the table there, Abba. I really, truly do, man. It looks like we are certainly going to be in the conversation for those Ketel Marte trades. I think that they might even be in the conversation for the Ketel Marte trades, even if they get Kyle Tucker. I think that's how crazy we could be. You know, because again, he's on a really team-friendly deal. And if you want to talk about what you could do for me in 2026, Ketel Marte, I mean, there's a lot of arguments to say that that guy could do a hell of a lot for you. So, yeah, I think all that's on the table right there, Abba Edgar. It'll be interesting to see what obviously happens. But, yeah, we're in the market for everyone.
Yeah, shout out to you, and thank you for the donation. Now, continuing with that whole conversation about this outlook of the roster, kind of pivoting away from the free agency market and kind of looking internally right now, we've had some recent conversations on this channel, and so has Ben. He's brought it up as well in his own right, talking about, is there going to be some potential moving of Jose Berrios and maybe some, moving of the roster of pieces that we don't necessarily think are going to contribute at a A or B level next year that are costing us some money? One of those guys that you've already seen start to get moved off the roster was actually Yariel Rodriguez. He got moved up. We actually even talked about this on the show. It happened over the weekend. He was DFA'd, but this was a weird situation. If someone could clarify in the chat, let me know. He already passed through all waivers without us really even knowing that he was already DFA'd or it was so quick. I don't know what happened, but he passed through all the waivers. 29 other teams didn't pick him up, meaning we still hold on to him. He's just in our minor league system now and off the 40-man roster. So he's effectively just like a minor league contract, but we can call him up and down whenever we want. But that was effectively to clear room off the roster. And we were bringing up right before, Yariel Rodriguez had a pretty decent season last year. I saw some people online complaining, being like, oh, he was terrible last year.
That's not true.
Did he have his moments where he had bad outings? Yeah, so did everybody else on this team. Everyone had bad outings, but you look over here, 1.15 whip, an ERA of 3.08. He felt like he was finally starting to round out in that bullpen, but I guess this goes to show, like, Blue Jays have bigger plans right now, and they picture other players performing better than him on the roster.
This one kind of surprised me because when you got the Yariel Rodriguez contract across the finish line, when you got that done, the whole idea was, or I guess the expectation, is that you knew it was going to take time. He was going to be a project pitcher. This is somebody that never played in MLB before. And you brought him over from, Cuba, I believe it was.
Yeah, I think he was playing in Japan, and then yeah.
And then he, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a whole season where he didn't play, professionally. So you knew when you brought him over, this was going to be a project pitcher, and you had him for an extended period of time because of that. I was honestly genuinely shocked at this, because the project was starting to pan out.
Yeah,
and it was, you know what I mean? You'd think it's like, okay, we're making strides, we're making progressions on this, we took that next step from the first year, because the first year was not very good. The second year, we took that next step. What could we do in the third year? And then they decided to get to, not outright get rid of him, because luckily enough, he was not claimed.
Crazy.
Surprising for me, definitely. Maybe people know something that I don't. Maybe there's some injury there. Maybe there's some I don't know, personal thing. I'm not sure. Don't want to speculate on that. I don't know. But it feels weird to me that a guy who had a 3.08 ERA clears all the way through waivers. And also kind of surprised as well that he was the one that we decided to chop here, because there's some other names on there. When I just think pound for pound, who would I rather have on this team? I mean, you could make some arguments for some of those guys.
Yeah, and look, I think it worked out perfectly for the Blue Jays because you were able to send this guy down, retain control of him, and now you're opening up the opportunity to add on a potential Fairbanks or Suarez, which we're going to get to a little bit later, or an Edwin Diaz, and then you could easily feel comfortable chopping like Tommy Nance or whoever, or sending down Braden Fisher because he's got options. And then at any point, you could be like, okay, an injury happens or an underperformance. Let's bring up Yariel Rodriguez. So it actually worked out for the Jays, but I am surprised that no one else got the chop. I guess if they had the opportunity, it was a no-brainer for them.
Yes, and I'm honestly kind of shocked as well that nobody picked up Yariel Rodriguez.
The whole argument's like he's owed $17 million, but I'd pay $17 million for the next 3 years.
Yeah,
for that guy,
and also too,
like
he's not a starter on our team. That doesn't mean that he couldn't be a starter somewhere else, or you could try, because that was the whole idea when they initially signed him, was that, well, maybe one day this project pitcher could turn into a starter for us. I remember I was very excited about that. Luckily for us, we don't actually need that anymore.
Right.
But another team, they could have looked at because he threw 73 innings there. He still's got more in the tank.
Yeah.
They could have looked at that and said, hey, you know what? Maybe instead of putting a bullpen in there, because, $17 million, a lot for a bullpen piece.
Right.
Not that much if he's one of your starting pitchers. I guess nobody saw it that way.
I don't know. Again, they must know something that we don't know. But the point being is, like, you're starting to see Ross Atkins shape out this roster a little bit and clear out some room and of some guys that we don't necessarily need and might cost us a little bit too much, which is a great place to be. And almost feels like we're entering LA Dodger territory.
Yes.
Where it's like we're clearing out guys that any other team would be happy to have. Whatever. Let's give a quick shout out here to Jason Stanley Meadows with a $5 dono saying, give Tucker asking price and close it. No way we trade Varsho. Barger and Tucker in the outfield. I saw some people talking about the idea of trading Barger. I don't think they do that unless it's literally like you're getting back like elite, like an elite back. Like I'm talking like elites of the elites, lots of control. But because it's the thing, like, I mean, if we're really thinking about Barger, because, we're not really talking about our roster too much in terms of the core guys right now. We're talking about the extended guys who we can add onto the roster. If you're just thinking about Barger right now, he's got what? 4 or 5 more years left of control?
Lots of control,
super cheap. And he started playing full time about 1/6 of the way into the season. I want to see Barger play another full 162 and start to solidify a position a little bit. See what he can do in year 3. It would be not a full year 3, but year 3 technically. Let me see what he can do. I'm curious. Again, I'd only get rid of him if it was for a top guy, but I want to see what he can blossom into because you need guys like that in your roster.
Look,
right?
I'm not actively shopping Barger or Clement or any of them. Now, I would, if the name that is coming back in return is somebody like Ketel Marte that's a proven commodity that will get you MVP votes any year, then now I'm open to listening about that. Because, again, we're talking about somebody that is the best second baseman in all of baseball, and we want to win the fucking World Series. But, again, not actively out here trying to trade all these guys away. Now, this is interesting. I just saw this. Ben Nicholson-Smith, because we were talking about, roster moves and cuts and everything like that. Obviously, a big conversation, big discourse has been around Jose Berrios. Jose Berrios. Now, he came out here, and this is Ross Atkins. We're talking to Ross Atkins here, okay? And Ross Atkins came out and said, do you mind just going back to where you were? Going back to where you were right there. Yeah, so Ross Atkins came out here and said, as of right now, he's in this is about Shane Bieber. Sorry, I'm referring to Jose Berrios. So after this tweet, Ben Nicholson-Smith replies to himself and talks about Jose Berrios. And Ross Atkins says that he's very glad that he's here and they intend for him to be here moving forward. Interesting, because there's been a massive discourse around potentially trading away Jose Berrios. And there was a conversation about how Jose Berrios was not happy that he was not on the roster for the playoffs or not in a starting rotational spot for the playoffs. And now, obviously, Atkins is coming out here and saying that they want him to be here moving forward. I suppose it's better than him coming out and saying, we don't want him here.
Exactly. It could be one of those situations where it's like, hey, we're happy that you're here moving forward because we technically have you here moving forward for at least one more year. And you're not going to go and shit over your guy. But to expand on that last little part, Keegan Maston came out and said, he asked him, was Berrios unhappy? And Ross Atkins said he was not happy. He was disappointed he wasn't in the rotation. rotation. He handled it well, but when it came down to the Ross selection, he wasn't on it. And honestly, again, that comes back to you got to look at the situation of the roster. There was a lot of guys performing very well. I think the one argument you can make that maybe Jose Berrios could have taken a spot of was like Chris Bassett, but Chris Bassett was playing an awesome role coming out of that bullpen and spot starting. I think did he spot start a game, or am I tripping about that? In the ALCS, it was such a blurry memory. Oh no, it was Max Scherzer.
I think it was all bullpen, man.
It was Max Scherzer, and then Chris Bassett came out of the bullpen. So I guess the one guy you could make an argument was well, Max Scherzer, but that's Max Scherzer. He kind of needs to play in the playoffs. That's why you brought him here. You can't really make an argument about Trey Yesavage. That kid is a beast, and he forced himself into that rotation, and he was dominant in the playoffs. So the results speak for themselves. But Jose Berrios, moving forward, it is interesting to see what kind of role he could possibly be. Because
that's what I keep coming back to.
Yeah, that's what I keep coming back to, right? Because you're looking at the rotation. He's not in a rotation spot. If Cody Ponce, and we don't know this for sure, if Cody Ponce is guaranteed a rotation spot, then Berrios is in the pen. Now, there are people coming out talking about that, well, potentially Cody Ponce could come in, kind of do what Yariel did, start in the pen and then work himself into the rotation. But it feels like on a 3-year deal, you kind of want to get the most out of him right now. Winning MVP in the KBO, I kind of want to see what I want out of him right now. But honestly, Berrios as your 6th swingman, maybe Swiss Army knife, if you have that conversation with them and say, hey, this is the role we want you to do this year. You've been here for a long time. You've given quality innings. We want to control, rest your arm because you were getting tired and worn out near the end. You got hurt. First season in a while, you got hurt. Let's get you slowly ramped up, and maybe eventually you'll find your spot in the rotation anyway.
And I assume that will be the conversation that they have to have, because I just don't see another. I just don't see any other way, unless you want to genuinely run a 6-man the whole season, which feels unlikely for us to do at this point. You want to give most of the opportunities, or as much as possible, to Kevin Gausman and Dylan Cease, and you probably just don't want to be doing a whole 6-man thing. If you have that conversation with Jose, great, and if he's on board, awesome, and then you can be that Swiss Army knife for us. I just have a hard time believing that he's going to be on board, because he just came out and said that he wasn't happy when he wasn't in the starting rotation for the playoffs.
Yeah.
So now what? You're telling me that he's going to be okay with playing a bullpen role in a season where, mind you, he's got a player opt out after this. So he could, if he has a good year, that's basically forcing him to opt in at that point.
Because if he comes out of the pen and throws like 100, let's say, and he starts a little bit too. Let's say there's like 120 innings. I'm opting in. I'm not getting anything better than $24 million a year.
From Jose's perspective, this is probably the most important year to be a starter, because then if I play well, if I have a good season, that's going to give me the flexibility to opt out of my deal and get another payday and get another longer-term deal. Because after this, he would be on the books for roughly $48 million for 2 years. Still a decent amount of money. Yeah. But if he goes and he's a starter and he has a nice season, well, now he could be looking at 60 plus.
So I wonder if and you rarely see this in baseball, I wonder if he talks to management, and if the manager comes in and says, this is our plan with you, and he says, well, I don't want that, I want to request a trade.
I genuinely think so, and I think that from both sides, it's just like, if you're Jose Berrios, I want to start in the year where I have a player opted. Plus, I just want to be a starter in general, because that's what I've done. I've been known as a starter. I don't want to, at this current juncture, turn into a bullpen piece. That being said, though, I would imagine he's probably very happy with Toronto. So there's a lot of conflicting things. Like, I don't want to get traded off the fucking World Series roster, but at the same point,
he's not going to be in the series.
I'm not even going to be on it. So it's like we're in a weird spot right now. I get that Ross Atkins is clearly saying what it is that he needs to say, but for me, when I read that, I don't think that this automatically ex-nays a Berrios trade. I think that there's just too many arrows pointing in the direction of this makes sense for both sides. And even though Ross Atkins is going to come out and say that, we're happy to have him, and you are, I'd love to have him in the bullpen. I just find it hard to believe that that's actually going to happen.
Yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts in the comments down below about that, because, I agree. If I'm Berrios, give me a starting role, or if you're not giving me a starting role, I want the hell out of here. I want to go get my money, right? So at the end of the day, business is business. Now, there is potentially an opportunity where you could include Jose Berrios in a trade, and that would be for Ketel Marte. Now, it obviously wouldn't be 1-for-1. That would be crazy because I would smash that immediately.
No, it's not even close to being
it
1-for-1.
would be you throw in Berrios and you add in some nice juicy pieces. But here's the update about Ketel Marte that came out today from John Heyman. This is the first part. This is a two-parter. Blue Jays among teams, along with Red Sox and others, interested in D-back superstar Ketel Marte. Talks happening, but nothing hot yet. I felt like when this came out, kind of regurgitating what we already knew, but obviously they heard this at the winter meetings, so we heard all about that. Now, the second part is, this is from John Morosi, the D-backs are willing to engage with teams like Ketel Marte, but the price tag is high, with emphasis on starting pitchers who are at, parentheses, or near, end parentheses, the major league level. So, a major league ready player or a major league starter. I mean, hello, Jose Berrios, if they want to take the contract, and the Blue Jays have come out and said, also in another article by Ben Nicholson-Smith, they're okay with eating money if it means moving players. They don't care.
Yeah.
Like, they will do it because they want to get the best players on the team. It's World Series or nothing. They don't really care. World Series or bust. So, if you move Jose Berrios over there or include him in a package, you'd probably have to eat it, but that at least makes a little bit of sense. You're probably going to have to add a little bit more if you are the Blue Jays, of course. Like
you would have to, man. You definitely would. I mean, Ketel Marte is just so valuable, and I feel like we're even underselling just how good of a baseball player he actually is.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, a couple more good years, like he's already got 35.6 WAR, and he's signed on for another five more seasons.
Years. Yeah, and granted, people in the comments, I've seen a couple people say this, like he will be 32 next year. It's like 33. Okay, like we're gonna expect 2 to 3 more years of quality, and I'll take that.
I also, and again, I certainly hear where those individuals are coming from, but I look at somebody like Ketel Marte, and I'm going to use my eyeballs here. We're always talking about how John Schneider doesn't use his eyeballs, right? He sticks with the analytics. Well, the analytics tell us that as a player gets older, they get worse. I'm looking with my eyeballs, though, and I'm seeing that the last 3 years of Ketel Marte have been the best 3 years of his career.
Yeah,
that's just, you know what?
87 OPS, batting average of 283. Yeah, 89 homers.
We have been
good.
the most consistent from here on out. Whereas physically, your prime is supposed to be from like 24 to 28 years old. From 29, 30, and 31, you've been incredible. In fact, you might even be getting better. You might be getting more consistent. So my eyeballs are telling me that he is not slowing down in any capacity. I also just saw with my eyeballs a literal half-in-the-grave George Springer come back from the dead and put up MVP numbers when nobody expected that at all.
Yeah.
So I do hear where some of that criticism is coming from, but at the end of the day, this is still a really good baseball player, and I certainly would not be betting against Ketel Marte to take us over the edge in 2026.
And he would take us over the edge because this is the type of guy you can acquire that's outside of money because, I mean, like we said, his contract's basically pennies. Like, it compares to the Blue Jays and what they're spending on other players. You can get this guy, and if you got Kyle Tucker, I mean, let's face it, Bo Bichette's probably gone.
Yeah,
well,
definitely.
then you throw Ketel Marte at second base. And then you have Jimenez at shortstop, Ernie Clement at third base, Kyle Tucker in right field, Barger in left field, Varsho in center. Like, you're good. Like, Anthony Santander is looking on the outside, looking in. So, yeah, like that right there is an incredible baseball team. Like, think about that lineup.
Oh, I know.
Like, actually, like, leading off, probably George Springer to start the year, right? And then we'll see how things go. Then you probably have Tucker. Fuck, I mean, you could do Ketel Marte, then Vladdy, and then either Tucker or Ketel Marte again, and then you've got Barger Kirk at the sixth spot.
Well, and for me, I know that everybody is so enamored with Kyle Tucker, and I do love Kyle Tucker, but the more that I think about it, if you take the last 3 years, like I don't want anybody to get it twisted here. Ketel Marte is incredible at baseball. Mm-hmm. And you could make a strong argument that he might even be better than Kyle Tucker right now. Because if you take the last 3 years of just war and production, it's Ketel Marte over Kyle Tucker, if you can believe it or not. That's a real thing. Good, yeah. And Kyle Tucker, I know he had a down year last year, but who was better last year? It was Ketel Marte. I mean, you add this dude into our lineup, like the impact is he was through the roof.
He was MVP 3, not last year, but the year before that, right? So, like, that's unbelievable. So, obviously, well, I would obviously take that, but that's probably going to cost you. Let's say we're starting it with Jose Berrios because they want an MLB-ready pitcher. Feels like that's the guy that would go the other way. But I would expect probably a Ricky Tiemann at least level of quality other pitcher. Like if they want an MLB ready pitcher and an MLB almost ready pitcher, there's your two guys right there. And then I don't even know who else they'd probably want.
You're gonna need to have something on top of that.
Yeah, you throw out David Schneider, but I know everyone's gonna freak out. But like the club vibes, maybe that will definitely take a hit. But
I mean, guys,
Marte.
I don't know what we're talking about. Okay, if you guys, here's the thing: if you can come to terms with Tucker over Bo, because that's what we're all coming to terms with, and it's like we're feeling like we're okay. Yeah, we can easily do that. I think we can come to terms with Ketel Marte over David Schneider. I love David Schneider. Yeah. He's been on the show, but like,
he's great.
Let's let's ground ourselves in fucking reality for a second here.
Yeah. So that would probably be at least it, and then you'd probably have to eat, Berrios' contract, or like you'd probably have to guarantee like if he opts in, you would eat some of that contract or whatever. So like that would probably be a no-brainer for them. But that's right now the kind of Ketel Marte market. I feel like he's the kind of guy that would get a trade before like December. I feel like there's always a lot of trades, a lot of big names that Ross Atkins pulls off right before Christmas.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I think we have a real shot at this, because not only do a lot of our needs pair well, or I guess a lot of the pieces that we'd be willing to sell off pair well with what Arizona is looking for, but you could argue that Toronto and Arizona might have one of the best trade relationships in the last 5 years in MLB. You could actually make an argument for that, right? Like we've been trading with them.
Varsho and Moreno.
And like we like to go into that well. So they got a relationship right there. I could definitely see a big blockbuster happening, and Toronto is 100% going to be in the mix for it. It would mean no Bo Bichette.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Look, if you ask me, Bo Bichette or Ketel Marte and Kyle Tucker, well, yeah, I'm obviously going to take Ketel Marte, Kyle Tucker. Like Ross Atkins and like the Blue Jays are thinking, it's time to win a championship right now. Let's get a shout out to Troy Lyons 8 with a $5 donor saying Trey starts in bullpen till injury or bad performance ? Trey isn't going 232. I don't think so. Unless for whatever reason in spring training, it's just he gets off to like an injury, or he's just not throwing the ball right, and he's just not getting a lot of swing and miss and whatever, blah, blah, blah. Then he's guaranteed a starting job. He was guaranteed a starting job when he struck out 11 Yankees in the ALDS.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, he's going to be in the rotation. Now, I can't guarantee you that he's going to go 232, because that's
no
awesome.
one does that.
Like, dude, so rarely. Even guys that go 32.
Even Dylan Cease doesn't go 200.
They don't go 200 anymore, because that's just the way of baseball. I kind of hate that. I love seeing pitchers go over 200. It feels sexy. It's like, wow, you really were a workhorse for us. But now, what's considered a lot of innings is like 170.
Yeah, 170,
and that's like, whoa, he was cooking.
Yeah.
So I don't think that Trey Yesavage is going to go 200 innings next year. If I had to bet the over-under, I would definitely smash the under on that. But I do think he's going to be in the starting rotation for sure.
I'm actually curious, how many total innings did he actually throw between the minors and the majors last year? Because that was a huge talking point the entire season.
So 98 total in the minors, plus an additional 14. So you're looking at 112.
112 plus. You got to talk about postseason.
Does that not include the postseason there as well? No. Okay, so then tack on an additional another 14, 12.2.
He played 27.2.
Oh, 27.2.
He threw
okay,
27.2 innings. So how much is that? What's the math there now?
112 plus 27.2, whatever that works out to be, 139.2.
140?
140.
There you go. He's already at 140 from last year. Okay, tack on. If he threw 150 for a kid at his age, that's a freaking win.
That's a big win.
That's a huge win. I'll take 150 innings. I'll take 28 starts from Trey Yesavage. Yeah. Hell yeah! So good. Thank you for the donut.
He'll definitely be in the starting rotation. I don't know if we can guarantee 200, but he will certainly be there. Shout out to Ari Pai again, Ketel and Tucker. I
know we're in crazy land, but hell yeah! I mean, fuck, we signed Dylan Cease 2 weeks ago already.
Yes.
When you sign Dylan Cease and Cody Ponce back-to-back weeks, you're already in crazy land. So and the fact is they're not done. They're still I didn't even bring this up. They're still looked at as being the most aggressive. This is from John Heyman's live stream earlier. The busiest shoppers is still the Toronto Blue Jays.
Wow.
after we've already spent $256 million committed. So like,
and I love that I don't see the Dodgers up there, and I love that I don't see the Yankees up there. Now the Phillies are there, and they're one of the bigger concerns with Kyle Tucker for sure. And Mets, you know I was bringing up earlier today about that whole, well, maybe if Kyle Tucker goes on a shorter term deal, could definitely see the Mets engaging in something like that. If they want, you know, exactly what they did with Pete Alonso, but just now we do it with Kyle Tucker instead. Could definitely see them doing that. But again, great to see no Dodgers. Great to see no Yankees. Good to see no Padres in there either.
Yeah,
because Padres are always. I mean, well, but
they always trade.
That's true, actually. maybe they're more of a trade market, but still, bigger market team. No San Francisco Giants up there either. They've been a thorn in our side for a little bit. They stole away Willie Dog. They stole away a couple other guys years prior. I mean, Toronto could really run the table here with how aggressive they want to be. It feels like we are the team this year, and that's awesome. I know that we have all of our opinions about, well, don't trade for Ketel because he's too old, and well, don't sign this guy because I don't like his splits here. At the end of the day, folks, like, fuck, I just want to win a World Series, and I know that Ketel Marte on this team would help winning a World Series. I know that even if it does mean giving away a player that you may have some type of connection with, even if it means that, it's still like we're getting better as a squad. We are getting better.
Well, listen, we're this close to winning a World Series. I want to not guarantee, but like if you get Ketel Marte the next 2 to 3 years, like that is a lot of elite right there.
Yeah, like you have to win. You have to win.
Ketel Marte's last 3 years, I look at it as a lot of like that was what George Springer did with the Astros. Maybe a little bit less home runs in that time, but like that's exactly what he did. He was like MVP candidate year after year after year. Just go get him, man. Like who cares? Like there will be more other guys playing second base for you in the future.
None of this matters if you just win next year.
If you win,
like really,
it's all good.
What it boils down to, it's scary for a lot of people, myself included. It's scary, but they're putting all their eggs in one bat. Like they're putting it in the World Series basket. But this year more so, right? This year more. Like we have to, with the amount of investment that's going to be made here, we have to win in the next couple of years because you don't know I know you got Vladdy here forever, right? Feels like you got Vladdy forever. And and you just got Dylan Cease for a long period of time. So it feels like the window's open forever. That's not going to be the same case because you might walk into a season and for whatever reason it's the same guys, it's the same roster, but offense just isn't nearly as lethal. This is sports. This is what happens. This is what sports do. This is what happens. Okay, the Kansas City Chiefs are not the Kansas City. What happened? We don't know. It's the same team, but we don't know what happened. They thought their window would be open forever, right? So the point being is the window is not going to be open for necessarily as long as you think it will, or we can't guarantee a top 3 offense and everything every year. You got to capitalize when you have it now.
And I think that's exactly what they're trying to do. We got another dono here from Cheeks18 with a 279 dono saying, is there no room for both Ketel and Bo? Now I looked at Ketel's baseball reference and I looked at the amount of times he's played at second base and shortstop. That's primarily what he plays. And I was thinking, okay, I remember in the past he played some outfield. Well, he hasn't played outfield in 3 seasons, and when he did, it was very minimal. And also, he's losing a bit of his legs as well. So I imagine he's just a permanent second baseman or shortstop. And if you go get that guy before Bo Bichette goes off the market, I just don't see a room to put both those guys in the outfield.
I see the way. I see the way. It's actually very simple, but it would require Andres Jimenez to go in the deal. You go back.
Right. He would. You know what?
If
you sign Bo Bichette, you send him Andres Jimenez.
You see, Andres Jimenez is part of the package now.
Yo, Spencer Horwitz deal gets better and better.
Right, and then you take all the money from Andres Jimenez, and all that money you X his name out, and you keep the same money, but now it's Ketel Marte. Because they're roughly the same amount of contract in terms of.
Would Arizona even want that?
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't. I doubt it. I would find that hard to believe.
Because it's like, first of all, why are you getting rid of Ketel Marte in the first freaking place? Probably to capitalize on the future. And it's like, not to get this guy. Yeah, he's great defensive, but like, damn, he's gonna.
You'd have to convince Ketel, or you'd have to convince Arizona that Andres Gimenez, because he is significantly younger. I think it's Marte. He's significantly younger. You'd have to convince him that this is a good investment for the future.
And we're going to have to eat half his contract.
And we would likely have to eat half his contract because that's really the only way that you'd get to consider it. Also, is Christine from Norway in the chat? If she is, then shout out to you, Christine from Norway. I see somebody in the chat saying, we miss you, Christine from Norway. I also miss Christine from Norway. What a goddamn fever dream.
I know, it doesn't even feel real at all.
Not at all. Shout out to Ohm, $6.99 dono. Fellas, how the hell are you? To sum it up, you try and get as many good players on your team. You want all the talent in the world. That's really what it boils down to, man. Look, the lads, if you get all the team now, the boys will go out and for New Year's, get fucking shit kicked or shit, shit face. Excuse me. Thank you very much. And they'll build new team chemistries, and it'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Hell yeah, man. Oh, thank you for the donut. I really do appreciate it, guys. Now, let's talk about this because I've seen a lot of people talking about this in the chat. I've seen a couple updates. People sending us some stuff. This was kind of the big update we got here from Ben Nicholson-Smith. The Blue Jays have been showing some interest in relief pitcher Robert Suarez. And if you're not familiar with Robert Suarez, this was the closer on the Padres for quite a while until they traded for Mason Miller at the deadline. And then I don't know what the hell happened after that, but Mason Miller started closing out ball games. But this guy was pretty damn good last year for the Padres. A 2.97 ERA with a whip of 0.9. That's disgusting. He did get 40 saves last year, but that's not really a stat I want to look at. I want to look at how he does. Last 2 seasons, again, sub-3 whip around that 1 mark. Even last year, the 0.9, like I said. This guy's a free agent. He spent a lot of time, I believe he was overseas. Yeah, he was playing for the Mexican League, and he's also the MPB, and now he's kind of a late bloomer into baseball.
Yeah, well, he only came here when he was 31
right? Years old,
and,
right?
He had one kind of middling season, but I assume there must have been some injuries with that because it was 27.2 innings in 2023. But every other year, he's been phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
And for me, a guy that had 40, that's almost had 40 saves in both of the last 2 years, by the way.
Yeah.
And who had a whip under 1. This is the new closer.
Yeah.
It isn't Jeff Hoffman anymore.
Yeah.
It would be Robert Suarez.
And you could probably get Suarez based on his age for like a 2-year deal. Like, it doesn't have to be a crazy long deal. You could sign him for 2 years. This guy throws 98.6 miles per hour on average. Could probably clip 100. Like, this is another kind of guy that we throw in the mix of closers. Like, we talked about P. Fairbanks, we talked about Edwin Diaz. Throwing Robert Suarez right in this mix. Blue Jays are in on this market. I am the most confident in this, that they will bring in another guy who has closing experience.
100%. And if it's Robert Suarez, I'd be over the moon about it because this is somebody that I do think pretty much automatically dethrones Jeff Hoffman.
Yeah.
You just can't possibly look at this guy's numbers from last year. 40 saves, whip under 1, great ERA, almost 70 innings pitched. You can't look at those numbers, compare them to Jeff Hoffman, and say, you know what, we're actually just going to stick with Jeff Hoffman because he's been here for a year and he's got a good intro, and we don't want to have to edit that and do that. No, it's very clear at this current juncture where you would have to go with Robert Suarez, which I like. I don't want to be in a spot, as much as we want to get depth and everything like that, I want them to go out and get a guy where it's clear, it's obvious, you are our closer on game 1 of 162. You're the guy. We're going to start like this. If as the season progresses, it doesn't work out, well, guess what? Now you have Jeff Hoffman that you can fall back on. He can be the backup option if your guy gets injured or it's not working out in Toronto for whatever reason. Then you have the depth to do that. Robert Suarez allows you that.
Yeah, Robert, and again, like, looking at the bullpen, it would clearly, like, the bullpen would be so deep. I have it up right here. You got freaking Jeff Hoffman, excuse me. I don't know if I clicked the wrong thing. Got Jeff Hoffman. You got Robert Suarez. Jimmy, again, I brought this up before. Some people are optimistic about Jimmy. I hate to be negative Nancy over here. I mean, back-to-back years of injury. He's 35 right now, guys. Like, I don't know what to expect from Jimmy. I don't want to write him off because I love Jimmy a lot, but like, not expect a whole lot right now. And him as our setup guy, it doesn't give me a lot of confidence.
Feels like a ton of Blue Jays bias, just automatically saying Jimmy Garcia is going to be good.
Exactly.
And I don't think that we like, that's not even fair to him, man. Like,
yeah, like he's been injured back-to-back seasons. He hasn't been performing his best. And then Louis Varland earned himself the setup role. But if you're number 1, 2, and 3 was Jeff Hoffman, Suarez, Louis Varland. You got Braden Fisher in the mix. I know people don't like Brendan Little, but Brendan Little will be there as your lefty. And then you've got Tommy Nance. If Tommy Nance would be gone, and then you have Eric Lauer and Jose Berrios as your long men. Like, that is a great place to be. I know we said for a while, like, we're looking for maybe like 2 bullpen guys. At this rate, because you've signed so many bloody starting pitchers, you really only need 1 elite. And then everyone kind of falls into place. And let's not forget, you got Yaro Rodriguez now in the minor league system.
I know.
And Mason Fluharty as well. So
it's getting really deep right there, folks. That is the one really nice thing about this whole Yariel thing. It worked out great for the Jays, and now he can be that minor league swing guy. And he's certainly going to play for Toronto next year, assuming that he doesn't get traded or something like that. I guess he couldn't get traded because nobody wanted him for free. So why would they trade for him? So
we have to pay for the contract.
Exactly, yeah. He's going to be a Toronto Blue Jay next year, and he will pitch for us in some capacity. We'll see how they want to map that out. But yeah, you bring in somebody like Robert Suarez, makes everybody's life so much easier, makes me feel a whole lot better about the 9th inning and leading up to the 9th inning, because I was, especially later down the stretch, man, like, it was not good for my heart rate, not good for my physical health, knowing that Jeff Hoffman was going to come into this game. He was just way too inconsistent. I like him. I think he's a great guy, and when he's on, he is fucking on. But at the drop of a coin or drop of a needle, he could be off,
dude.
And it's just like bang. Now we're getting hit for home runs, and we can't do anything about it.
Dude, his baseball savant page is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Like, you look at the K, the whiff, the chase. It's so freaking good. The expected batting average. This is what's crazy. The expected batting average is in the 90th percentile at 203. So you're thinking, oh, like weak contact. This is great because that's what expected is, right? It's based on launch angle and exit velocity. It's at 203. That means not getting a lot of exit velocity and whatnot. But his barrel percentage, which means how freaking hard the ball's leaving the bat, exit velocity wise, is in the 1 percentile. That makes 0 sense to me. So again, eyeball test. You look at Jeff Hoffman. He's a great pitcher. If you're not looking at the home runs he's given up, which is crazy.
And you look at that barrel percentage. Okay, so it's roughly 13%. Let's say that to get a save, he needs 20 pitches. That's kind of a lot, but we'll say 20 pitches. Okay, that means that anywhere from 2 to 3 of those pitches, on average, are going to be barreled and if they get the right launch angle, they're going to be out of the ballpark.
Yeah,
that's just quite literally the math.
He either misses your bat or you get a home run.
Yeah,
which I don't that's why it's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen.
It's strange numbers, strange metric. Actually, did he used to? Yeah, I assume he didn't back in 2024. What was it? How does that happen?
Yeah, I don't get it.
How does that happen? Like, how do we go from being like he's? I don't. Okay,
I genuinely look at that. He was one of the best pitchers in 2024, 2025, and then the barrel, which makes me almost. Again, I don't want to write Jeff Hoffman off completely because I could easily see a year next year, even if we bring in a new closer, where Jeff Hoffman goes back to being even this dude in 2024. It's like, okay, a little bit less, half the time. Now his barrel percentage is down to 7.6%. So he cuts it almost in half, and he's pitching low 2 ERA. I could see it. It's so volatile.
Right.
I could see it easily happening. So I don't want to write him off completely.
And I agree with you. I don't want to write him off completely either. I'd just much rather be having the conversation in May of, wow, should Jeff Hoffman maybe be the closer now?
Suarez.
Yeah, rather than the conversation of, oh, holy shit, we need another guy.
Actually, I want the conversation to be, wow, we have 2 guys that could be elite closers.
Yes.
Because that means Robert Torres or whoever coming in
is doing the job.
Yeah.
Quick shout out here to Anthony saying, keep up the good work. I'm a big Dodgers fan from LA, but enjoy your guys' show. Keep up the work. Shout out to all of the 860 people that are tuning in with us right now. We appreciate this community endlessly. If you haven't already done so, please hit that like, smash the subscribe button, guys. We're growing every day. We're getting close to 46,000 subscribers, inching our way ever closer to that magical 50,000. I don't think we're going to get there by the end of the year, but I would love to be able to get to 50,000 by the beginning of next baseball season. That would make me feel really cool. I know it's arbitrary numbers, but there's something special about 50K, it feels like.
I mean, 100,000 feels like, when I was growing up on, watching YouTube, 100,000 was like, wow, that is a YouTuber right there. That is a YouTuber. And I know this is obviously our full-time jobs, and we're so grateful to have it. But, to have us being like halfway there is magical. So guys, please hit that subscribe button. We really do appreciate it.
And a massive shout out here to Forrest Underground with a $9.99 donation, saying, I don't see us winning the World Series without Bo. Well, tell you, listen, Forrest, we got to the World Series without Bo. And but I know that he had that big time homer in Game 7, and it was leading us to potentially get it done, to finish the job. Obviously, don't need to rehash old wounds right there. But they for 95% of the playoff run, Bo didn't play with us.
Yeah.
So I hear what you're saying. I get it. He's a very good player. You need to fill that spot somehow, but it's clear that actually we can.
Yeah, it's crazy because I think about even the regular season, because I was going to say, we needed Bo to get to 94 wins. We actually didn't play for the final month. And we had some tough competition, and we found a way.
Yep.
We found a way.
Yeah, it's not like they stopped winning come September.
Yeah.
They kept winning.
Yeah, and I don't want to make this a point of we don't need Bo Bichette, because obviously the hits leader is must needed for any ball team. But, he isn't going to hurt our team and hurt our strength.
You need to fill that spot in some capacity.
Fill it.
There's a lot of ways to do that. Ketel Marte would be one, and you trade for him, and now I think we're good again. We're back to being incredible. You sign Kyle Tucker. That'd be another way. Yeah. If they even wanted to go so far to maybe even bring in Bellinger, bring in Schwarber, I wouldn't like it as much as getting back Bo Bichette, but still, you're filling the spot. You're still keeping us at a good competitive level.
Yeah, absolutely. We got another dono in here from Jason again. What's up? $10 dono saying, I think the biggest contributor to the World Series loss was stranded runners, not bullpen. Bullpen is okay. Increase base production, BAS, base production. I think that's what you meant to say. And increase run leads every game.
Don't get me going on the run lead. They did come out after the fact and they said, hey, maybe we could have had IKF a little bit further off the bag.
I mean, it is what it is. There's so many things you could point out, if this happened, if that happened, blah, 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 blah.
And to your point, the offense was awesome for a large part of it, but you're right. In that final game, there was a lot of missed opportunities.
There was a ton
of missed opportunities in that final game. I forget what the number was, but with runners in scoring position, it was bad.
You know what's going to really hurt? I've thought about this too, is when we get back into spring training and the regular season, how many flashbacks are we going to see?
Tons.
To the World Series. Yeah. Oh, we're going to see a stupid amount.
Yeah.
And I'm emotionally not. I'm not ready. I've sealed the scab, and I don't want to open it up again.
Well, and listen, if and when the Jays do make it back to the World Series, it's actually not going to be fun. It's going to be going to be so stressful because you're just going to every game, every pitch, everything. You're going to be praying to not relive the pain that you've already felt. It's the worst. It's actually the worst.
Hey, we got a dono in here. I don't know how to say this guy's name.
Whatever.
Abishetter.
Yeah, there you go.
Abshitter.
1984.
Thank you. Saying trade Santi if they can't sign Tucker for if they can sign Tucker for his placement, re-sign Bo and bring in Fairbanks, of course. Go Jays, go. So you're saying trade Santander, bring in Bo, bring in Tucker and Fairbanks. Wow. That's unbelievable.
That's crazy. I didn't get Santander from that at all. My brain went to Santiago Espinal, and I'm like, what?
Santi.
Where is he now?
Espy. He's in. He was with the Reds when we traded him.
Right.
Where he is now.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell was going on with that. It's a deep cut right there. Throwback to when he used to be on this team.
I do want to talk about Santander in a little bit. We do got to give a shout out here to the sponsor of this live stream, everybody. It is Sportsbook Interaction. Sportsbook and Casino. Every game is your game when you bet with Sports Interaction. Canada's homegrown sportsbook. We actually brought this up. We brought up Trey Yesavage, and you brought this up in a previous live stream talking about Rookie of the Year winners.
Yeah.
Well, surprise, surprise. Trey Yesavage is the #1 favorite, according to Sports Interaction, to win the Rookie of the Year in the American League at 3 times your money. I think that's pretty good. And like I said, and like you said, he will start in the rotation. He should get ample opportunities. That's why he's probably the favorite. I mean, I might sprinkle a few bucks on this.
I like it a lot. Look, there's a couple things you need to be a serious Rookie of the Year contender, and that's to start with the team.
Yep.
And that's really the only. And I was going to say, there's a couple things you need. That's the only thing you need.
Yeah,
you need to be able to start with the team and have an actual role with the squad. And if you have that, you get the regular playing time, which Trey Yesavage is going to get. Then it really just boils down to how good are you?
Yeah.
I know he's good. Can he do it over the course of 162 in MLB? We don't know that yet. That's what we don't know. But I know that he was really good in the small sample size that he had. So, yeah, he's obviously going to be the favorite, deservingly so. I think that Sports Interaction saw what we saw in the playoffs and went, oh, shit. This guy could rack up 200 strikeouts, and even if his ERA was 4.5,
he'd win.
If he's got 200 strikeouts, he's going to win.
He's going to win,
because that's
man.
a sexy number.
It is. So, guys, go check out Sports Interaction Sportsbook and Casino because they got you covered in the regular season with live pitch-by-pitch betting and easy deposits and payouts. Every game is your game when you bet with Sports Interaction. Go to sportsinteraction.com/BJN. That's how you sign up for an account, and it helps with the boys because it lets Sports Interaction know that you found them through us. Go open an account. Ontario only, 19 plus. Please play responsibly. I think we got one more dono in here. Then we'll get to Santander. It is from Edward. Edward with a $2 dono saying, would you prefer Tucker and Suarez or Bo and Diaz? Oh, that's a good question. That is a good question. Tucker and Suarez or Bo and Diaz? What do you got?
I would have to take Tucker and Suarez there. I think that the difference between Tucker and Bo long term is going to be more substantial than the difference between Suarez and Diaz. I know that Diaz is certainly better than Suarez, but ultimately, with what Suarez has done pretty much every healthy year, he's been really, really good.
Yeah.
So I just think that you'd rather have Tucker and over Bo in that situation, and the difference between Suarez and Diaz isn't as dramatic as I think the difference between Tucker and Bo would be.
The only thing that was throwing me off was like Diaz would be sexy, throwing out of the bullpen. But yeah, I'd probably go Tucker and Suarez. And apparently we have
apparently David Abisher right here won a Stanley Cup. So shout out to you if you happen to be the individual that did that. That's fucking awesome. I want my team to do that, but championship.
But in baseball land.
But in baseball.
Let's talk about Santander. Santander was actually brought up in the article as well with Ben Nicholson-Smith, where he included Rodriguez and Berrios about that whole conversation of making room on the roster for other players and getting rid of kind of unappealing contracts. Santander is that guy. I'm actually curious because I haven't looked at his contract in a while, what it looks like. But a lot of people are saying in the chat, oh, just trade Santander and sign these other guys. Is it going to be that easy? Are people going to want him? Because right now it feels like if you bring in Tucker and you bring in, let's say, a Ketel Marte or Bo or whatever, where the hell does Santander play?
Santander is, for me, just something that you're going to, cross your fingers and hope, guys. I don't see any other way around it. You signed him, you took the risk, you made the investment in the guy, and you rolled snake eyes. It was not a good first showing for Santander. It was not good. But it was so bad and so unhealthy that there's just no way around it. No one's taking that deal right now. No one is. He's at quite literally the lowest of rock bottom, lowest of lows right now. The good news is it can't get worse. It's impossible for it to get any worse. He had a 550 OPS last or something like that. It was terrible.
You're right.
It's only going to go up. You got to imagine.
Yeah, and I know you're looking at it right now. The payroll is $11 million per year, but you got to also consider we have a stupid amount of deferred money for 11 years with him. So the next 11 years after in 2035 it will start.
We're going to be paying for him till I'm 50.
Dude, yeah, literally.
Well, not quite,
shit.
But a long time.
We'll be 48, and Anthony Santander's deal will be officially over. That's actually crazy. But, he's got to opt in as well. And at this rate, I'm Santander. I'm not getting paid again. I might as well opt in. Whatever.
Yeah.
I'll get the money. But, yeah, for the Blue Jays at this point, it is only costing you $11 million. If you can find a way to get rid of him, sure. If you've got Tucker and other guys kind of fighting for jobs, because, he is pretty much locked into right field or left field. And then probably when George goes next year, probably will be an automatic DH. So he's locked in right there. See what you can get from him, man. Again, the contract's not over. It could be a 5-year contract you have with him. So you might as well try him out and see if he's got any 30 to 40 home run potential. You got to give him a shot.
I don't hate holding on to Santander at all. At the end of the day, we're so quick to throw these guys out to pasture.
Write them off.
But his year last year was almost identical to the year that Bo Bichette had the season prior. Riddled with injuries, never healthy, and then when he was on the field, was not good, but clearly was dealing
dealing with a load of shit.
Yeah,
this is not Anthony Santander. Let's take a look at his career. What's the outlier?
Yeah.
Probably the one where he barely played and was terrible. Every other year, he's been good. That was the outlier.
Yeah.
I anticipate that we are going to get back to something in the mid to hopefully high 700 OPS.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if everything goes according to plan, 30 homers and probably a lower batting average, batting like 230. 230, 30 bombs, 80 RBIs. I think that's well within the range of outcomes. 750 OPS.
Yeah.
I mean, that's totally
baseball, man.
That's literally like just I think that's even underselling a little bit.
Yeah.
Last year was everything went wrong. There's going to be some of the other math coming around next year.
That's the thing. Like, people are going to have years like this. Again, like you said, Bo Bichette's a great example. A guy just had a year like that, but we don't write him off because he's Bo Bichette. He's done it in the past. And we've seen it. Well, we've seen him in Baltimore do it many, many times. And yeah, he'll be 31, a little bit older, and maybe he doesn't recover as well. But point being is he can actually, like, if you give him a chance for the amount of value or amount of money that you're spending on him, I think it's a good dice roll. I think you're going to get, even if he hits like with $11 million, forget about the deferred money, $11 million you're spending on him next year. If he gives you 25 homers, that's a win for $11 million.
Well,
obviously, you want a hell of a lot more. But that's a win.
Anything's a win at this point, considering what he did last year. Like we're starting to get -1 WAR. Can we do better than -1 WAR? I think.
Can we get 2.5 to 3? It's or anywhere between 2 and 3. Because
I'm confident. I'm genuinely confident that will happen. Now, the one I guess time that I would consider doing something with him is if they get so good. And what I mean by this is they bring in Kyle Tucker. And they bring in somebody like Ketel Marte, and they bring back Bo Bichette. If you do that, then yeah, the lineup is now getting to a point where he actually he's gonna be on the cusp of cut,
right?
Because there's just too many elite players in there, and you'd give him some opportunities. But if after April and May it's not looking good, then that's actually when you have to figure something out. I don't know what the solution is, but you'd have to figure it out.
Hey, maybe eat the contract, trade him for pennies. I don't know, whatever it might be. I mean, if we're in that situation, we're laughing right now.
I actually don't care, because if that's the situation, we're just going to win the World Series and whatever.
Okay, you pray for 25 homers, or get a guy that will hit 25 homers. So, we'll figure that out when we get there. We got Hacklin in here with a 699 donut saying, I honestly prefer Schwarber over Tucker. Yeah, you're losing some defense points, but it's worth it for 100 plus RBIs every year. I mean, Schwarber's a great player. I mean, fuck, like when he was a free agent, I was thinking I would want Kyle Schwarber on the team because he can almost hit you 50 home runs, right? You hit you 100 RBIs. But over Tucker, I'd actually would. If you had an opportunity to take Tucker, you take him because he's got so many more abilities to play baseball and win you baseball games than Kyle Schwarber. But if let's say you missed out on Kyle Tucker, Schwarber is an excellent another option to put in the outfield to get you a lot of home runs. But it almost feels like we already have that type. I'm saying Anthony Santander, but because obviously Schwarber's better than him. But it's like you already have a guy who's like on the borderline of DH. You got committed for a long time. Do you want to add a second guy? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, no, I mean, I think hot take there.
Look, I can agree with you, Hacklin, if it's for next year. If you asked me who do you want on your team just for next year, I could potentially come to terms with, again, 56 bombs and going to be, getting well over 100 RBIs. You want to talk about protection for Vladdy? That's could be awesome. Or alternatively, you could just run it like the Phillies run it and bat him leadoff. Yeah, that'd be great. We're just leading the game, and we start the game and it's 1-0, and that's just how we roll every third game because that's Kyle Schwarber for you.
Right.
So I could get behind that, but I do think ultimately when you're thinking about the longer term thing here, the play to keep the window open as long as possible. And I know we're trying to win a World Series right now. I don't think Tucker would stop you from doing that in any capacity. But he also makes that window just open that much longer, assuming you get him on a longer term deal. Now you have Mr. Julius H in here with a $699 dono saying, "Isn't Bellinger a better fit than Tucker for the Blue Jays? Keep the line going offensively." I assume you mean right there. I don't necessarily think so. I do think that Bellinger is maybe a better player than some people are giving him credit for. We're talking about him as tiers
below Kyle Tucker. And with the recent state of play for him the last 3 years, it's not necessarily a massive fall off. Tucker is still better, and he is the more complete baseball player. And gun to my head, who do I think is going to have a better 5 years from now? It's Kyle Tucker.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be upset with Cody Bellinger either.
No, I mean, hell, like if we've never talked about this on this channel. If you got Bellinger, you could probably also get Bo Bichette, because Bellinger isn't going to cost you $400, $350 or whatever. He's going to cost you maybe a little bit less than Bo Bichette. Depends on the type of deal he gets, right? The length, right? Like, that wouldn't be a bad alternative either. If it was either Kyle Tucker or Bellinger and Bo, I'd take Bellinger and Bo, because that increases your window of the win right now of more good quality players. Yeah, I would, because again, we don't know what's going to happen with Varsho after next year. We know George Springer is going to be gone. So, yeah, it'd be nice to replace that window and still have Bo Bichette. I think there's a couple more things I want to bring up, more fun things I got right here. Oh, this was fun. Shout out to Six Buzz. Apparently, the Toronto Blue Jays were the third most searched sports team globally in 2025. And I believe you had like 2 other football clubs that were above them, and then the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah, wild list right there. I saw it, and it was Paris Saint-Germain, who is the number 1 team in France, football club, soccer. Big thing over there. They sign a lot of big names. They're spending a lot of money, so understandably so, they're number 1. Then number 2 shocked me. It was a team from Portugal, and Portugal, the Portuguese football league, not one of the bigger leagues. Premier League's bigger than them. The Spanish league's bigger. The German league's bigger. The French league's bigger. Italy's league is bigger. Surprised that the Portuguese team is there. I assume they must have done something crazy this year. I don't know what it was, but there must have been something crazy. Maybe the soccer fans in there can let us know. And then you had the Toronto Blue Jays, and that is kind of wild. That's over every other. Big 4 sports, North American sports,
worldwide.
Basketball, no. Lakers, no. Dodgers, no.
Dodgers
football.
weren't even in the top 10.
Dodgers weren't even in the top 10. Kansas City Chiefs, no. Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl winners, no. Any hockey team, no.
No.
Toronto Blue Jays.
Worldwide. It's the worldwide effect. And I said this to you before. It's like probably has to do, because, LA, they got a lot of Japanese players, probably got a huge Japanese market in there. And they're probably looking up the Toronto Blue Jays. Like, who are the Toronto Blue Jays? Who are they facing?
The weird thing is, though, you'd expect that the Dodgers would be there, though. Because if that logic is true, then it's like, well, then wouldn't they be looking up the Dodgers?
Maybe they already know the Dodgers. Like they're so knowing of the Dodgers, and they want to get to know the Blue Jays. Like, hey, we saw the Blue Jays logo on a ring the other day. Like, people starting to learn and starting to fall in love with the Toronto Blue Jays worldwide. Maybe, right? I thought that was super cool. And then last thing right here, Blue Jay legend Don Mattingly. That was kind of a joke. Don Mattingly is actually finding a new team next year, guys. Some people in the chat might have just rejoiced. I don't blame Don Mattingly for a lot of things. I think people are put too much weight on the 2024 year in Don Mattingly. But anyways, I digress. Don Mattingly, who should have made the Hall of Fame yesterday, is now close to joining the Phillies as a bench coach. Phillies president Dave Dombrowski told writers here. So there you go. Don Mattingly. I believe while we were live, that actually updated, and he did join the Phillies bench coach, and he is going to join. Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
But Don Mattingly, moving on from the Toronto Blue Jays.
All right. I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine with that.
I wish we could have got you a World Series, Don, but just were never meant to be.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, hey, listen, Phillies will have a good chance as well. They always do. I hope they don't, though, because that would mean that we don't win it, and I want to win it. So
we want to win. Phillies don't get Tucker. Whatever, we'll get Tucker and we'll go on and win it.
Stanley in here saying this can't be right. Wow. I just looked it up, by the way. This is from TSN. This is apparently what it is. So it's Paris Saint-Germain, then it's SL Benfica, which is a team in Portugal, big team in Portugal. Then you have the Toronto Blue Jays. Now I'm not familiar with this team at all, but it's the Punjab Kings.
It's got to be like something in India.
Cricket, soccer, somebody let me know. Yeah. Delhi Capitals, don't know either. I would imagine something similar.
India, yeah.
Gujarat Titans, no idea. Lucknow Super Giants, also don't know. Oklahoma City Thunder, they won the league. They won the league. So
again, everyone looking them up because who are these guys? Right?
Indiana Pacers, they were in the finals with OKC. So it makes sense there. And then, surprisingly enough, number 10 was the Seattle Mariners. This is according to Google, by the way.
Yeah, that's kind of cool, actually. You know what that tells me is that ALCS was rocking. Everyone was watching that ALCS because if the Mariners were there, like, they're rocking. So that's cool. That's cool.
Also, people are saying cricket. I figured it must have been cricket. Yeah, again, I've never heard of those teams before, but obviously they have a massive following, and clearly all three of them must have done something pretty big.
It feels like when you look up teams, think about when we look things up, it's because we don't know and we want to learn. So, like, all these teams were just emerged onto the scene, and people are learning. So that's super cool. I believe that it's where we're going to end it right there. That's all the latest updates, news, and rumors. But, of course, guys, we're going live. I believe we'll have to figure out tomorrow. Tomorrow's a little weird day for us. I'll be coming with a video tomorrow morning. Maybe we'll do a live stream at night, depending on what happens. But then definitely, yet again, on Wednesday, podcast in the morning, live stream at night, and then Thursday, Friday is our usual podcast, and then Friday our live stream. So hope we'll see you all there.
And I did see Stanley in here saying, get a reporter on from the winter meetings. We're actually hoping to do so. We got, shout out to Lindsey Dunn, boots on the ground over there, obviously associated with the 6-inning stretch, and then off the roster, but good friend of the podcast, good friend of the program over here. She's got boots on the ground right now. We've been communicating back and forth with her. When she hears something, we hear something, and then you hear something. This is the train of I guess broken telephone that we're rocking with right now, and we're hoping to get her on the show potentially on Wednesday if we can make it work.
Also, a little interesting tweet here by Keegan, kind of reading into this maybe a little bit too much, but Jose Berrios was unhappy with being bumped from the rotation. We knew about that, but eventually chose to be away from the team during the World Series. That I did not know.
See, again,
I did not know.
This is where, for me, like, he's not a bullpen guy.
If you chose to be away from
the team, crazy.
Yeah, I know that, like, you might be personally hurt, but you got to put the ego aside a little bit. Again, I'm reading into it. I'm just reading what Keegan tweeted. I got to read into it more. Go check out his article, everybody. But that's a trade.
No, that's nuts, man.
That's
like, what? Okay, again, I don't want to go. I don't want to speculate too much either. But you're not gonna support the squad in the most important series of all of these players' lives.
That's tough. Even Joey Lopperfito was there. But again, Joey Lopperfito doesn't get paid a lot of money. But that's the show, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe button. Also, thank you and shout out to all of our donations and all of our YouTube members. You guys are absolutely awesome.
Thanks so much for watching, everybody. And as always,
go Jays, go!